Hi there, welcome to a new video on floating in books. Today we're not going to be chatting about books, but we're going to be chatting about music. I thought I could come on here and also talk about some other things other than books. So you will have already seen a fashion video by now because I used to do those things over on my other channel, and I've decided to lump everything that's not makeup related onto this channel. And I was like, you know what? I love music even more than I do books and makeup and all that, so why not chat about music on this channel as well? And I don't think I have that much to add in terms of what's out there in the music community. I'm definitely not as on point as I used to be, but I do really still enjoy music, and I think a lot of people enjoy music, and I just thought I could share my 2 cents on that topic as well. And today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 artists that I feel need a bit more loving. As I mentioned in today's video, I want to chat to you about 10 artists that I feel deserve a bit more attention. These are all bands that I think that if you only listen to mainstream music, you're not going to be very familiar with them. Maybe some you have heard of, maybe some you haven't. I'm not pretending to be that much of a music snob, but I think that if you were to know anything about my music tastes, that I do veer more so on the snobby side of things. Truth be told, I did buy Beyonce's latest album, and I've got Lizzo, and I got myself some Harry Styles just because it's fun and I enjoy music to listen to, and if it's like catchy, I love that too. But that's not what I'm going to be recommending to you today. Today I'm going to be recommending a couple of artists who I feel are perhaps not that well known by most people. Of course, if you do know these, then props to you. And some of these I've loved for a long time, and some of them are quite new to me as well. So there's more for me to explore there too. And that's one of the things I love the most about music, is to discover new artists that I haven't heard of before. Because of the entire situation, I haven't been as successful finding new artists as I have been in the past, because I very often discover new artists because I go to festivals or, you know, friends' recommendations, but I also listen to a lot of indie playlists, but I just haven't had the time really. And I don't know whether it's because I'm getting older, but everything also starts to sound the same. So I'm not sure. Apparently there is a theory actually that when you are in your like teens, everything is new. In your 20s, you really hone in on your taste, and then when you get older, you just go back to the things you know. So maybe that's part of it, but who knows? But yeah, if you were to ask me, these are 10 artists that I feel need a little bit more attention. I've tried to make sure that there truly is a mix here, but as you will find, the majority of this is quite moody. And I tend to have a predilection for, how can I describe this in English? In Dutch we have a really nice term for it, een rabbelend gitaarbandje. So it's a band, it's a guitar focused music, and it sounds like something is loose or broken. I think I very much like those kind of things. So yeah, let me just get started. The first thing here I think is one of the more accessible things. Apparently this kind of music, I read this in an article the other day, is actually doing quite well because it's very cozy and easy to listen to, and it's also more on the electronic side of things. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about one of my latest purchases. This is the 3rd album by Odessa, and this is called The Last Goodbye. And because I liked Odessa so much, I wasn't aware they had albums, so I bought the other 2 as well. So these are their first 2 albums. And Odessa is one of those artists I found through indie playlists. Oh boy, I think back in 2020, like 2012, I think? Like, I don't know how, like, I'm gonna have to look up what playlist I found their remix on, because I think that they started off doing remixes for other artists first, and that's how they sort of made their name for themselves, and then they started releasing their own music. But this is very sort of atmospheric electronic music that really just gives you good vibes. I like anything Odessa is always good vibes. It's a little moody sometimes, like there is some darkness there, but most of it is sort of like this very tranquil, like almost like white noise level kind of calming music, at least to me. If you don't like bass lines and that's too much for you, you won't like Odessa, because they do kick a bass line, but it's not the kind of electronic music that you would want to dance to, if that makes sense to me. So I'll make sure to also have some links to, you know, buy every artist in like like a plate, like I can make a playlist on Spotify, I'm sure, and share with you some of my favorite songs from each artist. Very often my favorite songs aren't on albums, because I tend to, the way I go about listening to music is that I listen to songs first that I find on these indie playlists, and then when I find I really have, Odessa again, and then I decide to buy their album. Say I spotted this at Rough Trade when I was in London, and I knew they had an album out, but I wasn't aware it was already the third one. I mean, it makes sense because I've been listening to them, I think, from like at least a decade, maybe almost. So they've been around for a while. Yeah, this is just, as I mentioned, really easy to listen to, and I think the most accessible of all the things I've got for you today. We're gonna immediately kick it off a notch and talk about DIIV. This is my second recommendations. This is one of my all-time favorite bands, and I finally got to see them live in August. It finally was meant to be. This was a struggle. Not to get a hold of a ticket because they're not that big, but I had a ticket a couple of years ago, then they canceled. It was for this album, I believe. And then because their lead singer was like going to rehab or something like that, so they canceled the tour. Then they were supposed to come to a festival that I had a ticket for, but then of course the situation happened. And then they did come back for the festival this year, but I wasn't very comfortable going to these like really big, huge events yet. But then they announced a show just in Amsterdam, just them. And I finally got to see them, and I was so happy because they played all my favorite songs, and that's always a good thing. Like if a band has 3 albums out, then sometimes, because they get a little sick of playing the songs from the previous albums, they will focus only on the new stuff and they don't really do the old stuff anymore. So I was a bit afraid of that. But this was great. They played a good bunch of new songs, but they also played a lot of the older ones. And if you, what I said, like a guitar band where it sounds like something is broken, this band definitely falls into that category. However, this is still quite atmospheric as well. Very often they are described as shoegaze, which is a type of music which is pretty much inspired by, you know, guys when they play guitar and they just look at their shoes. That's what it refers to. So it's that kind of thing. It's got a lot of riffs. It's very rhythmically pleasing to listen to, at least to me. Like they really play around with like rhythm sections and like rhythm guitar and like little riffs that are thrown in and that are played with on variations. And then there is singing, but it's not like full on let's belt along kind of music. It's very sort of, again, atmospheric, quite moody. Like I can imagine, like I've never really been high on drugs or anything like that, but I can imagine that this is the way you feel when you feel high. It's this very sort of moody, sort of in the background kind of vocals that I just really like. So this is definitely one. DIIV, which is spelled D-I-I-V, because there was already a band called DIIV with the regular spelling, so then they changed the spelling. And Ocean is, no, that's the name of the album. I never know titles of of actual songs, you guys. I always struggle. What's it called? Oh yeah. But again, I'll make sure to list like 2 or 3 of my favorite DIIV songs in that playlist down below so you can listen to it if you want to know what they're all about. This next band is very much new to me, and this is like my other kind of like sort of favorite thing. If it's like a little bit, well, I wouldn't want to call this poppy, but I think this is the most pop related kind of record that I have for you, but it sounds more like 80s pop, like it has this 80s vibe to it, and I'm talking about Working Men's Club. This is their second album. I don't even know what it's called. And I just saw this at my record store, and the actual cover drew me in. I was like, that looks interesting. But because I had never heard of the group, I was like, will I like this? Is this like an 80s re-release of some 80s band I've never heard of, or what's going on? Turns out it's a brand new record. They're a young I believe quite a young band from the UK, and I found a review of this in my local newspaper, and they were saying how much it was a really, really good album. They gave it 5 stars, so I was like, I can try it. So if you like that sort of like 80s kind of Breakfast Club kind of, you know, what are they called again? The 80s group that I used, Bronski Beat. It has a Bronski Beat vibe, but then with more guitars, and I really like it. It has just some really good songs on it. It's super catchy. You can't sit still when you listen to this, and this is definitely my discovery of the year. Remember what I said about bands where there's a lot of guitars and it sounds like something's broken? Well, any sort of like punky kind of vibe will fit that bill as well. And I really like Idols for my little punk vibe for sure. And I love their sound because it sounds like true punk from like the 70s and the early 80s, but then it's very sort of 2002 because of all of the things that the lyrics are actually about. So they're a group from the UK as well, and they have a lot of social commentary in the lyrics, and I think the song Television is my favorite. That one always comes on and I know all the lyrics, and it's just, I don't know. There's just so many like quiffs and like about being a Tory, and those are all in here. So especially if you follow British politics a little bit, they have a lot of critique on like the British government and how things are going, like in true punk style. They're definitely going against the grain, and it just sounds really good. And they are a band I still want to see live. They did come to the Netherlands, but it was a postponed show, so it had sold out before anything ever even happened. So yeah, Idols is definitely one that's still on my I want to see them live list, because I've heard great things about their live shows as well. So another description that I think my music taste kind of falls into is like moody, atmospheric things. And a band that is not like electronical at all, but that is moody and atmospheric is Other Lives. So Other Lives, I have 3 of their albums. Which one is my favorite? I like all of them. The thing is with Other Lives is that all of it kind of sounds the same. So with this, I have no clue what the songs are called, because when I play these albums, it's just one sort of streamlined whole of music. And therefore, I don't really know what all the songs are about or what the songs are called, but I definitely have a couple of favorites that when I hear it, it's like instantly like, oh yeah, Other Lives. And this is just really, it's very gloomy. Like if you want fall vibes, like gloomy, gray, rainy day, like what I'm looking at right now when I look out the window, Other Lives for sure. And they are very gloomy, very moody. It's almost like depression in a song, which is not, it's not a way to really sell it to you, I think. But if you like your moody, dark vibes, but it's all very nice and calm and nothing too out there, like none of these albums really have a high peak in like tempo or loudness or whatever. It's this like really calm, coupling stream of music that you're listening to when you listen to Other Lives. So I find their albums very sort of, yeah, calming, like a really big warm hug on a gray fall day. That's what these albums are. I think I'm selling it better that way. More post-punk, sort of 80s inspired guitar music then. This is Snapped Ankles, and this is a band I had never heard of, but this is why I sometimes love browsing music stores. I found this in Brighton in 2019. I was there for a work-related thing, and then I was able to go into town in the afternoon, and there was an independent record store, and they had this like front and center like on a display, and I was like, Snapped Ankles, never heard of them before. I like the bright pink, might as well try it, and it's sort of like a less polished version of Idols. Like it is this more gritty, like all these songs are super short. I'm not sure, it doesn't say how long they are, but I believe the entire runtime of this album is like 35 minutes. I mean, every song is like 2.5 minutes because it's fast, quick paced, this like post-punky 80s kind of vibe that's there, but it still feels quite modern. And this, I don't even know what the songs are about. I don't really care. This could be very dark and dreary and whatnot in the actual lyrics. But this just makes me want to bounce in my chair and just bounce along, and that's sometimes all you need. So Snapped Ankles is like my more uplifting pick, I guess, but it's still like punky guitar bands, so you do have to like your guitar bands if you like my recommendations for sure. But yeah, Snapped Ankles, and this album is Stunning Luxury. It's the only one I have by them. I'm not even aware if they have any others out. Maybe they have, I don't know. My friends of mine have seen them live, and they said they still need because when this was launched, I think they had just started out. So they still had to like really figure out how they like work out their on-stage presence. But if they manage to do that, it would be a really good band to look out for. So maybe if I see that they're coming to Holland anytime soon, that I might pick up a ticket to see them live. And then we're gonna head over to Sweden because we've got Fuse. And Fuse is best described as sort of like psychedelic rock. So this is again guitars, soundscapes as well. This, especially one of my favorite songs from their first album, is very sort of soundscape heavy. It's got a lot of improvisation and a lot of like riffs and things like that as well. And this is a band, again, that I want to see live so badly. The last time they came to the Netherlands, they actually came to my hometown, and I couldn't make it because I already had tickets for a dance event that day. But yeah, I do really hope that when they release a new album that they tour again and that they come to Rotterdam again. They're still a band I would like to see live, and they have... Again, their albums aren't a lot of songs long, but they do have some pretty long songs. So especially one of my favorites is like a 9-minute song. So that takes a while to sit through for sure. But I love this. I just feel like this is music you can really lose yourself in. As in, every single time I listen to this, I hear something new that I didn't hear before. Again, like with DIIV, I feel their vocals aren't always necessarily the focus of the songs. It's much more about the music than it is about anything else. But I really like how it all comes together. And as with other lives, I feel this also has like a mood. It's like it all comes together, and when you listen to a full album by these guys, it kind of starts to merge all together. If you want very clear songs, then this may not be your vibe, but I really like it. Now, if you're wondering, Micah, where are your favorite female artists? I have plenty of female artists, but right now, these were the things I picked off my shelves because I was like, these are the things I want to talk about. Maybe I can do a separate version of this video if you're interested about female artists, but I believe they have disbanded, but Savages I have to recommend here, because if we're doing punky, like guitar music, but by women, I have to recommend this to you. So Savages is a band I did see live at a festival once, and this is amazing. Again, it's post-punk, right? It's this post-punky 80s vibe kind of music, and this just has a drive that is amazing. And I remember when I saw them live, I mean, the woman who does all the vocals, she was this really tiny, petite woman in black cigarette trousers, this white button-down shirt that had been buttoned down all the way to her navel. I hope she was wearing boob tape. And then she was wearing these red kitten heels and bright red lipstick. And the way she screamed into that microphone was just everything. So this is for your, like, I'm angry moment and I just want to shout at the world. It's really, really, truly amazing, and it's got a really good drive behind every single song. So yeah, I think they only did these 2 albums, Silence Yourself and Adore Life, and that's it. There are some songs as well where they kind of slow it down that are more like ballad-like, but those don't tend to be my favorites. The ones that are up-tempo and very upbeat and snappy, because this is a snappy kind of band, then that's what if you like that, then you'll like this too. And I promise there will be some other types of music, and I think that a artist who doesn't get enough credit for anything is FKA Twigs. Does she fit in the screen? That's her first album. This is her second album. She released a 3rd album earlier this year called Catrice Songs, and it's really good. I was only able to find it on Spotify though. I believe the vinyl is finally available for purchase worldwide, and she's been doing like videos for a lot of things. And the thing with FKA Twigs is that it's an art. I don't follow a lot of celebrities on like social media at all, but I follow her because she has an artistic vision that is part of her entire persona, her entire vibe. She will make music and then decide that it has a certain like feeling behind it, and then she will just make sure she learns the skills to do it. I believe that for a particular song she learned some sort of sword fighting style. She's gone into pole dancing for another thing. Like, she really like pushes the envelope of what music can be and what music videos can be, and it's all very artistic. Sometimes I feel it's a little too artistic for my taste, but I definitely appreciate that. And I really like her music. I saw her live twice for both of her albums, and I hope she's going to tour with this one. And if she does, I'm going to buy myself a ticket, because of FKA Twigs show is an experience. It's not just about the music. It's like an entire display of what people can do when they come together. And that's also how she creates a lot of her projects. It's always in collaboration with so many other people, and I think she does a really great job. So yeah, music wise, it's more like R&B dance, like especially her latest album. It feels like a 90s throwback R&B kind of Destiny's Child era kind of thing. It very much feels like that. It was very reminiscent of that for me. But she is, again, an artist who just rediscovers her sound on every album that she makes. But it is more like R&B, hip-hop focused, especially the first album, I feel. But there is always a great deal of electronics involved as well. So I feel she really, again, plays with what music can be and sort of crosses borders of genre. So it's very difficult to describe, but she actually does. So yeah, I really like her stuff as well, and I can't wait to get a physical copy of that new album, because I did really like it, but I haven't been able to buy it yet. So those were the 10 artists I wanted to recommend to you that you check out. As I mentioned, I'll make sure to have a link down below where I've created a playlist on Spotify with some of my favorite songs from these artists for sure. Leave a comment down below with your favorite artists. If there's things that you feel I should check out, I'm very curious to hear your recommendations. I have a pretty wide music taste, like I mentioned. I do also like my Beyonce and my Taylor Swift and my Lizzo and my Harry Styles, and whichever big like arena focus kind of artist has been releasing new music this year. I like that too, but I want to do a separate video in December of like things I really got into this year. So then you'll probably find Working Men's Club in there again. But because there's definitely been a couple of new things that I have acquired that I just want to go back to the entire time. So I want to do like a little overview of things I started listening to this year as well. So let me know in a comment down below what you are listening to. I would love to know. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make one video a week over on this channel, and if you're interested in makeup related content, then definitely check out my main channel as well, because there I post 4 times a week. So hope you like to stay tuned for more content, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!